Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Maria. If you watch this video and you enjoy it, don't be shy, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for any future videos on narcissistic abuse recovery and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Now I have another video on self-abandonment, but today I want to get more into it. Explain to you what that feeling of abandonment may be coming from and 5 different ways in which we are able to work towards moving past the core wound of abandonment. So we've all heard someone say, oh, that person has abandonment issues. So what does that really even mean? What does it mean to be abandoned or to feel that sense of abandonment? Well, this can come from so many things. This could be maybe when you were younger, your caretaker or your parents fought a lot. You didn't know what they were fighting about. You felt as if it was your fault and you internalized it. Maybe your parents were overprotective. They didn't allow you to play with other kids. This made you feel abandoned. You felt left out. You were not included. Maybe you were bullied and you felt abandoned by classmates. You internalized that to feel like it's your fault. Maybe you went home and told your parents and they did not protect you. They did not stand up for you. Maybe your sibling was abusive emotionally, psychologically, physically, and your parent did not reprimand that sibling of yours, and maybe you had to deal with it, so you felt abandoned by the parent and by the sibling. You were not accepted. There are maybe you had a parent who passed when you were young. Maybe you grew up in a one-parent home and your father or your mother never acted as if they wanted to get to know you. That definitely would create that sense of abandonment. One other thing is sometimes parents tell their children, you were an accident, you weren't planned, I didn't want to have you, you were a mistake. Because parents reiterate this over and over to their children, this too causes this sense of abandonment, this sense of I don't belong somewhere. There is something internally wrong with me, okay? So when we feel these feelings of abandonment as a child, they last over an extended amount of time, right? Because when we're children, we don't understand feelings like this. It's too big for us to process. We haven't seen the whole world yet, right? We're seeing this little thing that's right in front of us. So to us, it's a really big deal. And we think that if there are people that are rejecting us, it's because it's our fault. We did something wrong. So there's something internally wrong with me. When we feel this sense of this internal, what is wrong with me? There's something off about me. There's something not right about me. I am the problem. We do one of 2 things. We either completely change who we are, or we become people pleasers. So either way, what we are doing is we are abandoning who we were made, who God made us as human beings. And we are either becoming someone completely different, or we are becoming people pleasers. So we are saying that what we need and what we want doesn't matter, because we want to be accepted so bad that we are going to do whatever it is that the other person needs and wants in order to get that outside validation. So think about all these things, and does this relate to you? Did you go through this sense of abandonment over a long period of time? So because we have these feelings of abandonment at such a young age, and they go on for quite a while, they become familiar to us. So they become just, think about your subconscious mind just does what's familiar to you. These are familiar feelings to us. So although they are uncomfortable and they are not good feelings, right? They do not provoke happiness inside of us. A lot of times it provokes depression and anxiety, but it's still familiar to us. We understand the feeling. So what happens is, because we went through this as a child in so many different ways, we bring this into adulthood. And when we become adults, we recreate that feeling of abandonment, and we go ahead and we self-abandon. So we abandon ourselves. So we are recreating whatever these abusive or, the bullying, whatever these situations were, we're recreating them so that we now are going to abandon ourselves and our own needs. So like I was just talking about, as a people pleaser, that is one way. As an adult, we abandon ourselves. We say that whatever it is that you need right now, I'm going to give to you, because what you need is more important than what I need. Why do we do this? We do this because of that sense of the validation that other person gives us. It's so temporary, but that feeling of acceptance feels good to somebody who has a core wound of abandonment, because somebody is finally accepting us. So we do this enough that we just can't say no to things. Maybe we can't say no to going out with our friends, to spending money on people. We just continue to give and give and give, because what we're getting back in return is that outside validation. And to us, that feels so good. That's like taking care of this core wound of abandonment temporarily. Okay, we're finally accepted. Sometimes people go through their whole life and all they want is to just be accepted. And I fully, personally understand this feeling. So a lot of times we become people pleasers. So what are some other ways in which we self-abandon as adults? Let's talk about this. So a couple more ways in which we self-abandon when we become adults after going through abandonment as a child is maybe we become workaholics. We're working all the time, right? So why are we doing this? Well, we're doing this for the outside validation. We're doing this because somebody may be telling us you're doing a good job. Maybe we're working really hard because we are trying to make our boss proud. Maybe the validation is coming from the paycheck that you're getting. Maybe you're working really hard because the longer hours you work, the less you have to feel the core wound of abandonment. But regardless, a lot of people who are self-abandoning are working hard. So you see how this is, we end up giving so much of ourselves, whether it be through our time, our resources, our money. We are giving instead of doing what's important, which is looking within and actually working on that core wound of abandonment. But we just want that outside validation. And another really hard thing that happens is a lot of times we get into toxic relationships when we become adults. So why does this happen to somebody who has a core wound of abandonment? Well, a lot of toxic people love bomb when they get into relationships. So we're going to talk about people who are narcissistic. They don't want you to see who they are underneath, right? The wolf in sheep's clothing analogy. And so they love bomb you, and they give you this extra love, this attention, and they tell you all of the amazing things about yourself, right? They're highlighting, it's just, you're this beautiful person, you're so kind, you're so caring, all these things that you always wanted to hear from the caretakers that you had when you were younger. You are now hearing from this toxic person. So you don't have that sense of self, of who you are. So you're gaining this outside validation from someone else, and you're believing it to be true, and it feels really good to somebody who has a sense of abandonment. You are being loved and accepted in a really strong, quick, fast way. And this is love bombing, and we don't see the red flags because throughout our lives, these red flags, like I had said, this feeling of abandonment is normal. It's an everyday feeling. We don't see the red flags because these are toxic people, and they're probably a lot like the people that you grew up with. Maybe your parents, your caretakers, the bullies at school, your friends when you were younger. It's all that same thing. These are the same kind of people that are going to expect you to eventually abandon who you are and just care for them. Okay, so it's all the same pattern. So we get into these toxic relationships, and eventually, because the love bombing phase does not last forever, we get to the point where they start pulling that love away. They start devaluing you. And you want that feeling back so badly that you abandon who you are and you do everything you can for that other person to get them to love you because you crave that feeling of the outside validation and that feeling of love. All of this stuff, you guys, stems from that early on feeling of abandonment. We are just recreating it as adults. Okay, so let's get into 5 different ways in which we can change this. And it's a lot of work, but here's some direction that I can give to you so that you can understand how we can get through this. So the first step on getting through abandonment, that core wound of abandonment, and then in sense self-abandonment, is to acknowledge that you may not have a sense of self. You may not know who you are. Okay, so that's okay because at least you know that. And this is going to give you a basis of something I need to work on in my life. Okay, I need a strong sense of self. Without a strong sense of self, you will continue to abandon yourself because you don't even know who you are. So you can't give yourself the validation that you need. You're going to continue to look for it from other people. So the first thing that you need to do, this gives you a little bit of guidance, is have a strong sense of self. Number 2 is you need to strip these false narratives that have been attached to yourself and your identity. So when we're younger and we're told you were a mistake, I didn't mean to have you, or even without using words, when your parents don't stand up for you when other people are hurting you, that it causes you to think that there's something internally wrong with you. There's a reason as to why you weren't worth the parents' time or energy to stand up for you. So these are all narratives that are false narratives that are placed on our lives when we are younger. And when we get older, we live out and we dumb ourselves down and we get with people that reflect these false narratives that were never meant to be a part of our lives. So your parent did not stand up for you. That was because of something that happened to them in their life, right? Like somebody didn't stand up for them. They weren't taught that. They have their own issues, but that was not meant to mean anything about who you are as a person. So number 2 is to detach these false narratives from your identity. So these I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough thoughts and this stuff that's attached to you, I'm a mistake, there's something wrong with me, needs to be detached, okay? These were never a part of who you were or who you were meant to be in the first place. So number 3 is creating boundaries for yourself and your life. So a great boundary is the word no. When you're going through a healing process and you're working on self-abandonment, then it's going to be important that you don't abandon yourself. And that means that you don't do things that you don't want to do. Okay, so these things that you're just saying yes to left and right, we're going to need to start saying no to a lot of things. You're going to need to put yourself first and your life first. If you have work that you have not completed, but you're just saying, I'm a procrastinator, and you're going out and hanging out with other people all the time, It's not that you're a procrastinator. That's another narrative that you're placing on your life. It's actually that you're abandoning yourself because it's normal for you. It feels normal to abandon yourself and to go with other people. So it's going to be very important that as you're creating a sense of self, you're creating boundaries on your life so that you are putting your needs before the needs of others, essentially. Number 4, and this is so important, and you can do this in practice every day, is creating safe environments and being around safe people. And by safe, I mean physically, of course, but emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. It's really important that we form, safe environments in our life. If we've been through abandonment, we've been through toxic relationships, then we certainly know chaos. And in our head, a lot of times, if there's no chaos going on in our lives, we feel like our lives are boring because we're so used to chaos or something going wrong. Well, we need to change this about ourselves, right? So we need to create safe environments so that we have less outside influence coming in. We have less drama in our lives, and we're able to focus on ourselves. We are working on not self-abandoning. Okay, so what we're doing is we're creating safe places for ourselves, safe environments with safe people, psychologically, mentally, and physically. And number 5, put yourself first. This is the time of your life where you're no longer going to do what's comfortable to you, right? You're going to get comfortable in the uncomfortable, and you're going to start putting yourself first. So before anyone else, before you go and do a million things with other people, before you abandon all of your needs, you're first. And I always say your healing journey is, it's like a baby. So if you've been working on healing from self-abandonment for 2 months, then you have a 2-month-old baby you need to take care of. So you're going to put that baby first, right? This is what we're looking at. A lot of times when we become people pleasers, we then look back and say, you're selfish. Like, it's selfish to put ourselves first. It's not selfish to put yourself first. Actually, this is a lot of work that you have to put on yourself, and it's all internal work. If you're so focused on everything else and everyone else around you, there is no humanly possible way to do the kind of healing work that you need to do on yourself. So put yourself first, and that's okay, and be okay with it. Forgive yourself for that. It's okay to put yourself first. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't be shy, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for any future videos on narcissistic abuse recovery and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And as always, I wish you all the love in the world.